Everyone, it's Kevin from the FitCast, and I'm here to talk to you about the awesome stuff that all the Patreon supporters of the FitCast are now getting. Announced it a couple weeks ago, and now I've recorded a ton of stuff. And with all the new episodes that I'm producing, I'm trying to get every one of those guests to record a bonus segment for the Patreon supporters for about 30 minutes. Some have gone even an hour long. Right now, I'm going to let you check out one of those segments. This is with Dan John, and I literally asked him, can we do one of these? And I think about 5 minutes later, after I sent that email, I said, yeah, call me right now. So that's what I did. I didn't have any notes. I didn't have anything like that. I literally just called him up and started talking to him. And there is no outline. There is no summarization of what these shows are all like. They're all different. They all cover different stuff. Some of them actually end up being like FitCast episodes because they end up going into, fitness or personal health development. Some of it is just kind of like learning about these people that I talk to all the time. You hear from all the time. We read their stuff. We watch their seminars. So it's been awesome. These have been really fantastic, and you get access to this stuff if you're at minimum $1 per episode supporter. That's all it is. It's $4 a month, and you get an RSS feed, so you can still download this stuff to your favorite podcast application. You can still get it through iTunes. It's easy, simple instructions. If you have questions, you just email me, or you just download the MP3 right from the site, or you can listen to it right from the Patreon site too. So it's super easy, and my goal is to get 4 of these done every single month with every one of the episodes. And like I said, they've been going great so far. I've not gotten a single piece of negative feedback from this. Every single time that I've gotten feedback about these pieces of audio, they've been outstanding. They've been incredibly positive, to the point where I almost feel bad that these aren't public, but at the same time, I need to figure out a way to make sure I can still do the FitCast with all this other stuff. Like, I'm getting ready to go to Japan next week. Then after that, I'm going to Chicago. I'm doing so much traveling. I'm trying to make sure I can basically sacrifice some of the little free time I have to do this stuff. And that's why it's kind of turned into more of a, not a business, but something that is definitely more supported by the audience, like an NPR type thing. So this is a brief look at what the Agenda-Free FitCast series is all about. And I think I might post one more of these. I just did one with Georgia Dow from the latest episode, which, again, those are out a week early for Patreon supporters. And it's just really fascinating, the discussions and figuring out like kind of where we go with these. So I hope you enjoyed this one with Dan. It's just... Man, I can talk to that guy forever. Like I mentioned in the past, like I've already recorded a bunch of these with people like Lou Schuler, Mark Fisher, Molly Galbraith, Jill Coleman, Jen Sinkler, and everyone that I've been interviewing up until this point. Every time I do one of these, Eric Cressy, Sue Falsone, and like I said, George Dow, we're recording segments for these Patreon supporters because they understand that, those people deserve a little extra as well. So with this, I guess it's kind of a video, but you're really going to just like leave it playing in the background, this audio piece, so you can check it out and see what it's like. And, give me some feedback. And I hope you go to patreon.com/thefitcast. I swear it takes 2 minutes to sign up for this, and you can set it at $1 per episode. It's going to be $4 per month, and you're going to get almost 3 hours of extra audio. Some of these episodes are 25 minutes long. Some of them are an hour long. So it's been really cool. I'm going to be doing these in the future. They're only going to be for Patreon supporters because they're the ones that are stepping up, and they're telling me that, this show is worth $4 a month, which means a lot. Even though it's a little, like it is literally less than a large Starbucks coffee or grind, whatever they call it. I'm a Dunkin' Donuts guy, sorry. But that's what it's all about. So check this out. Listen. You can kind of hear what it's about, and make sure you're keeping and out on the fitcast.com, at FitCast on Twitter, at Kevin Larrabee on Twitter. Don't forget to follow Fake Dan John. And I know he's got an awesome book that's going to be coming out in a couple weeks. So keep an eye out for that via On Target Publishing from the wonderful Larry Draper. So here it is. All right. So this is, I guess, Tuesday night. And a couple minutes ago, I just emailed Dan John and said, hey, I want to do these like agenda-free fitcasts where I get to just randomly talk to people in the industry and get a little bit more behind the scenes look. And then 5 minutes later, we're on Skype. So hi.
Hello.
And
it tells you how pathetic my life is. It's the highlight of my day when you Skype me. I'm sitting here like a child on Christmas Eve.
Well, I thought I would pick a good time, like in the middle of the week, because we bumped into each other at the one day in Boston, and you've been traveling like every weekend now.
Yeah, in fact, I had to get up early the next day to fly out to San Diego to do a workshop called Strength Matters for James Brees. Mm-hmm. And so I haven't been sleeping well because, to get out to Boston, I had an early wake up. Had an early wake up for the conference, of course. It wasn't terrible, but, you fly in late, and then up and at 'em. And then on Monday morning, my flight was at 6:15 coming out of San Diego. So I had to be at the airport early. But I'm better now. I'm pretty much all caught up today. Had a good night's sleep, great night's sleep, and a good workout today. So,
are you going anywhere this weekend?
No, this weekend I'm having a secret workshop here in Murray. I'm going to do this thing called the Art of Coaching, a 3-day workshop, mm-hmm. and it's going to start in July. But I've never done anything without. Is it the athlete in me or is it the teacher? I don't know, but I needed a chance to go through some of the stuff. Mm-hmm. So Sunday, for example, I went through a workshop. I'd never done it before, but I wanted to make sure I had some, as I'm going through the material, sometimes I hear the lack of connections, mm-hmm. and then I can go back and address it, or the absolute huge amounts of repetition that shows up sometimes, if that makes sense to you. Okay. Yeah. So, and that gives me a chance to, kind of clean everything up.
How do you kind of pick up when you go to these seminars, and I know you say a lot, like, do you understand what I'm saying? Do you see where I'm coming from? And a lot of times you get these groups in the morning, whether it be like at 8 a.m., it's on a Saturday. They sometimes are not necessarily super attentive. Do you still try to take note? How do you kind of figure out if people are just dead in the morning or if they, really aren't seeing where you're coming from with some of this stuff?
Well, when I work with the military, I gauge it by emails. Mm-hmm. It turns out that I'm the worst person in the world, but when I work for the United States military, I'll get home. There's an interesting shaped building that I gave a workshop at a couple of weeks ago. And basically everybody in there, let's just say there were a lot of stars, and I was at the Pentagon, okay. And, it's funny, after probably I spent another 2 hours doing hands-on and people would have a question. It's fun because one person's question would lead to a whole other thing. So it was kind of nice. Emails flooded. When I work with the guys who are a little bit more like they kick doors down and stuff, they won't ever ask questions in a group, and I gauge it by the emails. With the professional teams, I gauge it by the amount of interest to come visit me here in Utah, or the free games I get to see that year. Mm-hmm. With the fitness trainers, they're really tough because so many of them, they're not even sure what the questions to ask are. God bless them, but a lot of them like. You come to my workshop, and if you're a Zumba and yoga instructor, when I start talking about things, just the vocabulary is just so different. Mm. I'm just dismissing hinge, snatch, clean, the front squat, overhead squat, kettlebell, this, that book. And I've got and so that's why sometimes they will ask questions that I just really struggle with the answer, because it's like, And then I almost have to go back to Genesis chapter 1 in the beginning and say, oh, okay, I understand why you didn't understand that, because you don't know there's a barbell in a farmer bar. Okay. And so it's tough, man. Kevin, that's probably the hardest thing, since I teach now such mixed groups. That is the hardest thing to reference for myself. I ask those questions. I know my material. I'm hoping for any kind of feedback from the audience. Do I need to be clear? Do I need to? But, sometimes it just doesn't matter. You just don't get the kind of feedback you'd hope for. Like when I write a book, I'll get all these, my friends will say, not friends, but people say, can I look at it before? I'm really good at proofreading. I'm really good at editing. And so I'll send them a copy. And 2 years later said, oh yeah, I never got around to that. So if you're going to expect feedback in this industry in 2015, you're almost crazy, because there's just so much out there. Let's be honest. I said Zumba, Pilates, yoga. Every time I go to a conference, I always joke about how get ready for the lymphatic system. That's going to be next year's go-to thing, So yeah, you're not going to get any, because they're going to go to this workshop. They're going to go to a workshop next weekend where all they do is going to lay on the ground and breathe for 7 hours. Next week, they're going to say the worst thing you possibly do is breathe on the ground. So God bless those audiences. I don't know how they do it.
Did you get any sense of how things went? Like, I'm guessing it's even more so in the hands-on when you're dealing with a group of, I'm guessing, like, at least for that weekend, we had probably 400 people there. So the groups might have had 80 people-ish in them. How did that go?
Well, all I can do is go by smiles on faces. Mm-hmm. That's all I can do. And pictures after and handshakes. I know a lot of people, if I said I've had 20 emails since Saturday, I don't do that as exaggeration. So that makes me feel like I kind of got something right. Mm-hmm. It's tough, my friend. It is tough. You were there for that original workshop I ever did, basically, right?
Yeah.
And, I think you and I could both argue the feedback is that 100,000 people downloaded it.
Yeah, it's way more than that now.
And then probably 2 to 3 dozen people looked at it, took notes, and then said it was their information. Mm-hmm. That was an attempt at humor. Yeah.
I gotcha. It's almost 9:00 here on the East Coast, but I'm still okay. I'm awake.
All right. Okay.
Well, another thing I want to ask you about is with all this travel that you've been doing, how do you do it? How do you stay normal when you're going from the West Coast, basically West Coast, to Europe, to Boston? You're going all over the place. Have you learned anything to kind of just recenter yourself to make sure you don't go crazy?
If you're really interested, yeah.
Yeah, no, I am.
One of the tools that really does help is if you can. I don't want to call it intermittent fasting, but it basically is where you just on the road. Not so much when you're in travel mode. I think when you're in a plane, eat and drink and watch stupid movies. Just do anything you can to relax and fall asleep. Whatever. Hey man, whatever gets you through the night, as Frank Sinatra famously said. But once I get there, like in Dublin on Saturday, I only had one meal. And then on Sunday, I didn't eat until lunch with Adrian Craddock halfway. So, in a 48-hour period then, about that 36-hour, 48, I only had one meal. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, fasting on road trips seems to help. Oddly, it helps with sleep, and I can't figure that one out. You got to be very proactive. There's so many steps. Let me start with this. I pack really smart. I only pack one bag, whether it's 17 days in Europe or an overnighter in San Diego. I pack only one bag. I bring these little packets of this dried lemon stuff that turns a glass of water into a water with lemon. Mm-hmm. I bring extra coffee, extra tea. I bring all my vitamins. I bring like floss. I bring. I'm very smart about my shoe and pants selection, my shirt selection. I'm getting better and better about my media use because it's let's be honest, we're in a good time for entertainment. You can get a lot of entertainment out of your phone. And I try to pack as intelligently as I can, one bag only. So when I get to the hotel, like for example, I try to have a very orderly evening before I go to bed, no matter what the hotel is like. So I always take my supplements before, about an hour before. I make sure I have water of some kind near the table. I always call down and make sure I have a wake up call. I also back it up if I can, if I'm in this country, with a backup phone call. And I try to read a book before I go to bed. Rob Wolf will tell you about that light. When I wake up in the morning, I have all that extra coffee, and I consciously don't eat on the road breakfast anymore. And the reason is that it gives me a little bit more time. That's true, but it also kind of puts me in that kind of hunter mode of seeking. So that even though I'm pretty gassed from jet lag, that kind of little bit of hunger keeps me a little bit more awake. Mm-hmm. And those are some of the things I do. You'll notice that I tend to wear very specific kind of clothes. You'll always notice I'm always basically wearing the same thing. I have four travel jackets that all look the exact same. I have shirts from this one company, I can't pronounce its name. They're a little pricey. They're $89 a piece, but you can just snap them when you get them out of you can fold them up into a ball, snap them, and they're basically wrinkle-free. I have that underwear that you can wash in your sink. I tried the socks, but the socks were terrible. So, and then I hate that. I hope you're following here.
I got you.
You start with the whole game in mind. I think it's really important, if I can, the morning of a trip, but if not, the day before, I do at least 250 swings and all my mobility work. So I'm going onto the plane kind of after a nice loosening up. When I get home, like this morning, my workout today was 250 swings, mobility workout, lots of one-handed pressing, work on the parallettes, and then work on the dip rings, the rings. Mm-hmm. And so I did gymnastics, swings, and mobility. Well, that just kind of recenters me. Nothing I did was dangerous or heavy. Well, dangerous maybe, but not heavy. So I feel good. And that's kind of what gets you going again. You have to be very proactive in packing supplements, your basic rules of health. And the other thing I'd argue is try to avoid tourist traps. Go try to find something unique in every place you go. When I was in Dublin last weekend, I went to Belvedere's school days rugby matches, their cup tournament. And there's no question I was the only American there. And but the nice thing is you don't get stuck in lines. You don't get, dinked and dunked by, stupid, expensive admissions and stuff. And try to find something unique and different on every trip you go to. Honestly, a place like London, London has magnificent places to go and a lot of buildings and museums. I like to go to the magnificent places that are a little bit off the track. That was a little bit long-winded, but see, I feel the same way. That I prepare for those trips like I prepare for the Nationals.
Yeah.
I pack for the Nationals probably, if I'm leaving Friday, I'd pack on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday and Thursday, go in with a checklist and double check everything. You only need to make a mistake once or twice at big meets to realize you'll never do that again. When I talk to people about, you want to get a haircut about 2 weeks before the Nationals. Now, why not the week of? Because you got too much to do. You need to take your Metamucil 4 or 5 days out before the Nationals, because bowel movements are a big deal the morning of the Nationals. You're nervous, you're dry, you're worried. The last thing you need is, to be stuffed up too. And people think I'm joking when I say that, but you won't when it's your turn. So it's kind of fun to think this way. I always think that always try to be proactive rather than reactive in everything I do. So I look that way at my career. I look that way at my packing. I look that way at my competing. I look at it with almost everything, I think that's my life story right there in a nutshell. I am a lunatic, but I'm a well-prepared one,
I can understand that. Well, I'm curious. Well, maybe I got a couple questions for you, but with all the traveling that you've been doing, have you kind of kept track? You keep like any kind of like journal on all these places that you go to, and hopes of
Well,
sharing that at some point?
well, Delta does that for me,
That's true.
and also Facebook does because
Yeah.
I try to load my pictures up. Now, there's two reasons for that. One, it's nice to have all my friends go, "Oh my gosh, you're in such a cool place." Two, it's also nice for people I don't necessarily like to go, "God, he's the luckiest man in the world." Yes, my enthusiasm for life pees on them a little bit. So,
Do you have enemies? Do you have enemies on the internet?
yeah, yeah, I'm unpopular in a few places. Yeah,
Jeez, God, the
people,
internet's a dumpster.
yeah. Let's see. I'm fat, and I don't know what I'm talking about. Is the most common one. I am. Oh, what was the word I was called? I'm inconsiderate, which because when I offered them the $1 million, I gave it to them in $100 bills.
Hmm,
And where can you cash $100 bills?
that's
Uh,
tough.
I- I'm only joking a little bit, but honestly, man, whew. Um, yeah, but yeah, it's tough. My old boss, Bishop Niederauer, once called me a diva. He said that I never look at the positive reviews, only the negative ones. But at the same time, I've yet to meet somebody who's not met what Earl Nightingale called, the top 5% that didn't worry more about the negative than the positive. The more I can see that, the more I can, okay, so here's my weakness. Okay, here's my problem.
Hmm.
Then address it. Um, and it's weird because some of the things they say about me are like, well, if you're going to be negative, let me give you, if you want real stuff that'll piss me off or upset me, let me email me. I'll send you stuff that hurts. God, it's funny when they call me fat. It's like, have you ever met me in person? Because I mean, maybe I am, but God, I don't know. I still can bring the torch on people pretty hard.
Jeez. Yeah, well, it is. I don't know. It is something I'm guessing that you've had to deal with a lot more since. I mean, in terms of like the internet popularity, like your stuff has caught on a lot over these last like 8 or 10 years. So I'm guessing it's kind of just comes with the territory of more people getting your books and your DVDs and going to your talks.
It's funny because I was always called skinny, and now I'm called fat. It's funny. I remember that middle part only vaguely, but yeah, it's just weird. And the truth is, I mean, if you do my blood test, my body comp work, I'm okay. I'm just a 57-year-old athlete, who's been beat up a little bit, but I still have my devilish good looks.
That's true. No,
Yeah.
that's true. You bring it. Another thing I wanted to ask you about, and this is probably going to be a trend in a lot of these shows that I'm doing, is you have a lot of experience. I mean, you've done a lot, not just over the last couple of years, but I mean, you have a lifetime of experiences. Um, do you have any wisdom or any like any things that you thought, if I had a time machine, I'd go back and maybe I'd go left instead of right, kind of thing?
Well, that's the hard thing with that. In fact, I used to write a column. In fact, there's 120 of them for free. And in one of them, I talk about how I had this Twilight Zone experience one night, and I was afraid to look in the back seat because I was afraid my daughter Lindsay wouldn't be there anymore. Because if I would have told little Danny something, would I have destroyed my future? Um, you know, the things I wish I would have had the courage once I had gotten. I wish someone like me would have sat me down and said, "Dan, you're strong enough. Let's back down to 2 days a week lifting, 3 days a week lifting. Let your body, kind of snap a little bit, get the snap back.
Hmm.
Um, Here are the two keys to discus throwing, the 3B position, and getting off the left leg at the back. Don't worry about anything else. It's everything else is just for looks and charm. I mean, I wish I wish someone would have, you're on the right track. I do regret, all that time I spent in training took me away from a lot of other things. I had no social life.
Hmm.
I wish I would have volunteered more. I wish I would have done more. And this isn't me being. I'm just being frank with you.
Yeah, yeah.
I wish like I was in the Model UN club in high school, and I was the Uh, you know, I love playing chess my whole life, and I wish I'd have done a few more things down that route. Just a little bit out of the. But I actually though think that I tried very hard to be a student athlete my whole career. At every school I was at, I always went to the plays, and I always went to the dance performances and things like that. I tried to be real supportive. It's odd to say this, but I wish I'd have been just a little bit more so. You know what I mean? Uh, it's rough because you got to be careful. I wish I'd have done the farmer walk earlier. I tell you from the heart, I'm telling you, it really just changed my life at 46. And in a way, I would have. Boy, it's tough because I got to tell you, I'm doing pretty good right now, so I can't complain too much.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends, the guys I compete against, are dead. Not hurt, they're dead. And others are cripples, and some are just, their kids hate them or don't even know who they are. And overall, I did some smart things. There's a few investments I kind of kicked myself for, but we won't go into that. It'd have been a lot easier to become this wealthy if I'd have known, it was. I had a chance to buy gold at $181 in 1979, and my parents, God bless them, talked me out of it. 6 months later, it was over $800.
Yeah.
And my dad, just before he died, we were talking. He said, I was fine with you being a big kid and buying the gold, but Mom was very worried that you would lose some money buying gold. And I'm like, yeah, just I had $1,000. It wouldn't have been a huge deal. And of course, buy real estate as early as you can, but none of those, if you want a sports and nutrition answer, quit wasting your money on crap supplements. That would be the big one. Yeah. Vitamin D works, fish oil works. I think minerals work. And other than that, you really, I think that quality protein works. Sadly, we didn't have it when I was young, and we really did not. It was the most fart-producing stuff in the world.
Well, yeah, I appreciate you being so candid. It's a super loaded question. I know when I ask it, it's a super loaded question, but maybe it's
okay. Here's one, Kevin. Everyone wanted to set me up with Rita Harrington. Okay. And finally, Rita and I went on a date or two just before I went back to Utah State, and things were well, and I met somebody else. And but if I fall for Rita, I don't meet Tiffany. I don't have Kelly and Lindsay, and God only knows what I'm doing now. And she also died a couple of years ago of cancer. But my point is, you got to be real careful about kind of
looking back and stuff.
Looking a little bit. To quote Frank once again, regrets, I've had a few, but then again, too few to mention. I haven't had a lot of regrets,
What do you, when you're on these flights, what are you watching? What are you watching for movies and TV shows? What gets your attention away from being so high above the ground?
I only watch flights when I go international. So Mike Krifka, he's a guy out in D.C., about a year or two ago, he gave me the entire collection of James Bond 007 books.
Nice.
And I got to tell you from the heart, those A is for Alibi, B is for the Sue Grafton book series. Phenomenal for reading on a plane. The Bernie Rodenbar Burglar series, great for plane reading. These are garbage, you know what I'm saying? Murder mysteries, And I got to tell you, and I'm shocked, 007 are fantastic airplane reading. It's just, I hate to call them garbage, but they're so, you can fall asleep and pick right back up. It's not like reading Dante's Inferno or anything, Or I just finished Bram Stoker's Dracula, and I still want to put a gun in my head.
That's a good contrast.
Yeah. So what I did in this last flight is I watched Whiplash. And I thought that was fun. So what I try to do is watch all the films I think I should have watched. And whenever they have something called Critics' Choice, I try to watch every one of those. And I got to tell you, I've watched some films. Can't always tell you the names of them because they might be like one was an Icelandic film, which was phenomenal. But so what I try to do is, I mean, if you watch Mockingjay 3, you're just gonna want to step out the plane at 35 feet. It's such a bad movie. So sometimes you have to be careful because popular movies don't always work well on a flight, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I tried. The first time I saw Avatar was on a flight to Europe. And on that tiny little screen is like, I don't get this. I don't know why anyone. Then I finally saw it on the big screen and I was like, I still don't get why this is a popular movie. But so I'll stop there. So for me, and I'm not trying to be a snob.
No, I hear you.
But what's great about a plane, and you watch, Whiplash isn't exactly a makeout movie, but it's a great film. And it's kind of nice when you're on a plane because you got, when you're going from here to Europe, it's a 5-hour flight to the coast and 6-7 hours to, Dublin anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got time to, catch a film or two, So that, and I'm certainly not a snob, but sometimes those action movies on planes just aren't very good. So it's kind of fun to expand yourself a little bit, I loved Whiplash, by the way. So I was trying to coach like him for a couple of days and it just didn't work out.
Like J.K. Simmons. Tony brought this up when I talked to him today, too. I guess it's a movie I got to check out.
Well, I don't want to swear, but he says it at the bar, just before the big ending, he says, I blanking tried. And I think back over my coaching career, and I've had some notable failures, just abysmal. I wanted to shoot my own face off. But I can honestly say, even in those dark nights of the soul of coaching, I tried. I tried. And sometimes, you're in a system that is so hard to work with. You can't be a good coach.
If we lived in the Star Trek society of money no longer existing, we all just worked for the greater good. Do you think you'd still be doing this stuff, or would you be doing something else?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I don't know of anybody. I honestly don't know of anybody who enjoys what they do more than I do. I get up in the morning and write every day,
mm-hmm.
every single day. I teach college, and I go and I do my college work after that, or college work and then write, doesn't matter. And I drink coffee with my dog at my feet. And then at 9:30, all my buddies come over. Sometimes earlier, my athletes come over. And we all train at 9:30. We train for an hour and a half. Then we'll go to lunch. After lunch, I go help my throwers at Westminster College. The afternoon and early evening are basically getting the crock pot filled up for dinner. If I want a suntan or hot tub or sauna, it's all right here. Take the dog for a walk. I retired about 5 years ago, so I have an amazing life. I'm not trying to be an ass or anything, and I'm not trying to be full of myself, but I worked so hard for so many years, but also hard and smart, that the people ask me why I keep raising my rates, because I have to. Otherwise, I would never have weekend free, ever. And no one pays my rates. It doesn't really matter. So I love what I do. And I hope the enthusiasm still comes out. That's why when something negative hits me, when someone says I was mean to them at a conference or something like that, that's why it's so hard for me to take. It's like, who else gives out, what other speaker gives out their home phone number?
Yeah, it's crazy.
And yet still people criticize, and it's funny, I am a diva. It's one person out of 10,000, but it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, I think with all that stuff, I guess there's always going to be the asshole, in the, group of 1,000.
Well, and also too is, one of my friends found out they had someone attacking him on T-Nation all the time. And I actually hired a guy to find one person was kind of funny, but we'll stop there because that's just psychosis.
Yes.
And kid turned out to be a 14-year-old zit-faced little shit in Nebraska or something like that.
Sounds about right.
But that's it, I'll go to these meetings and someone will say, I am badass 94, and you meet them. It's like, dude, have you ever lifted a weight? And they come off it, it's just strange, so that's a problem. But that's the value of being anonymous. And I never will be. You have never and never will see me post anonymously. I always use my full name. Always. I mean, if you go to Iron Garmix, one of the rougher places in the weightlifting, I post as Danny John, just the name my mother called me,
It's just an unfortunate case with the internet where it turns into. I mean, you've seen it too. It's like not just in obviously the fitness industry or whatever, but just bullying, harassment. Now there's people that do death threats. I know people that have gotten death threats against them on Twitter, and people could just do it and make a new account. Post someone's address and say, "I'm coming to your house to kill you," and then the police don't do anything about it. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it's gross.
Kill me if you guys want to kill me. I'll give you my address. I don't. Honestly, I mean, how many of the speakers have you ever worked with I've been shot, so I feel pretty comfortable about that.
You've been shot?
Yeah, it's another story for another time, but yeah. So I should have died twice in my life, and not these little silly stories like accidents. I'm talking about the cool ways. So if you want to bring the heat, go ahead, but yeah. It could go badly for you too. Yes.
We're getting close to that 30-minute limit, so I want to kind of wrap this thing up, and
I'm not finished.
What do you got?
Oh, I don't know. Whatever. I'm just joking. Go ahead.
I don't want to take up. I mean, it's a school night, and
you?
It's kind of a school night. I got kids to train tomorrow.
All right.
I got to get the future athletes of the world ready to play. But what's your favorite swear word? This is a stupid inside the actor studio thing, but I think it's kind of interesting to ask.
Douche.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a stinger. That's a good one.
My dog knows 4 commands. He's a pound puppy, so God bless him. We're doing our best. We got him when he was a year and a half, and he's a good dog. You hear him clicking all the time. So the commands he knows are sit, stay, where's your ball, and don't be a douche. And I say don't be a douche to him. He just goes, oh, I'm sorry, Dad. You have these rules. I forgot them. Please forgive me. And then he just puts his chin. He puts his chin in my lap for an hour and a half trying to beg forgiveness. Jeez. So go ahead. Next.
Where do you want to go? What would be the next place on your to-do list in terms of travel? You've traveled a lot, but is there any place that you haven't gone to yet?
Well, the nice thing is, my goal was to cover Ireland, but because of this job, and this year I'm going back to Great Britain 3 times, Australia, been to Costa Rica a bunch of times. I'll go to Germany 2, 3, 4 more times in the next few years. Vienna, Stockholm. I mean, so with this job, I've seen every place I think I've wanted to see on that little bucket list that kids might have, So for me, the next thing I kind of want to do is I'd like to do what I did with Tiff a couple of years ago. And we had an extended stay in Galway, another extended Ireland stay. In July, I'm going to do something that's really important to me. My favorite place to travel around the world. It's my niece's birthday, and we're going to go to Epcot, and we're going to drink around the world, which has become a tradition in our family. On your 21st birthday, we all go to Epcot, and you have to have a beer or drink at every country in Epcot. And I'm strongly recommending you do not start in Mexico with tequila shots, just to let you know. But no, really, I mean, one of my biggest goals is to continue to work, to continue to reverse engineer some of those lessons I picked up as a coach. This next book, Can You Go? Never Let Go 2, or whatever we're going to call it, is coming out. Mm-hmm. And I'm already working on the next one after that already. So I'm going to have 3 books out within a year. So that's a big thing to me because it's important to me for my own personal reasons, which are, well, I'll tell you, this October 2nd will be the 35th anniversary of my mother's death. My grandmother died in 1925. I want to make sure you understood what I just said. My grandmother died in 1925. My mother died 35 years ago. My father died young too. We died young in my family. Uh, I've sinned a lot in my life. In fact, fairly well. I don't want to brag, but I think the one redeeming thing I can do is not let some of the great lessons I've learned as a coach or taking notes from coaches I listened to, not taking them into my grave with me,
Mm-hmm.
to make sure they're shared with the world. I know that's probably some of your listeners are going, oh God, they just rolled their eyes, but I actually believe in my heart what I just said.
How awesome is Larry Draper?
Oh my God. Hey, do you know how we met? Do you know the story?
You and Larry?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. So this is amazing stuff. So there was an old forum. I can't remember if it was Balkan Power. It might have been Balkan Power. And one of the guys needed help down at the Santa Cruz Strongman contest. So my brother Gary volunteered with his son, it would have been David, I think, to go help move all the equipment back to its original place. Mm-hmm. So if you picked up the anchor and carried it 10 yards, Gary and David would carry it back. And about halfway through the day, Dave Draper and Larry are standing there, and Dan Martin, who's now a friend of mine too, a fireman from the East Bay. Larry goes, "Who is that guy? They've been helping all day." And Dan Martin says, "Well, that's Dan John's brother." And Larry goes, "Who?" So it's funny because every story I have about my success in this field is always a story like that. Somebody knew somebody that's how my first gig as a fitness speaker was when Charles Staley had his boot camp in 2003 or 2004. Someone dropped out that week, and Charles Staley was at a loss. And Mike Bukowski, who's one of my hammer throwing friends, said, "Well, Dan John can speak for an hour." And Charles Staley said, "Who?" So, and that's when Chris Shooter over at T Nation said, "If you're ever in an area where Dan John's speaking, make sure you hear it." And that started my speaking career. So it's always you just if you want to make it in any place in life, I'm not saying it's networking. It's just making sure that everyone has a good taste in their mouth about you, down the line, because you never know. I mean, who would have known that my relationship with Mike would have ended up the way I am now, where, literally all I do is what Charles had me do, 11 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right. Well, I think that I'm going to stop it here because I'm stupid and I set these things at I'm going to say 30 minutes. We're at 35, and I want I want to thank the audience, the people that are supporting the show on Patreon, making sure that I can keep making these episodes. And of course, Dan John, thank you for taking 30 minutes or 35 minutes out of your night to just talk about random stuff. Big questions
you had. I told you, douche. Is there any more?
No, I think this is only the second one that I've done, so I'm still working out the.
Okay, I want you to on the rapid fire. I expect to be called back, and I demand more of those kinds of questions. I will give you absolute honesty and candor with every question you ask me.
That's a deal. I'm gonna get my note cards, filled out, and I want to have the ridiculous Will Ferrell, Night of the Actors Studio, huge stack of cards, and we'll go through them.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
So that's it. That's one of the episodes, and the other things that I've recorded since then have been different because every time you get someone different on the line, the conversation is never going to be the same. So check it out. Really, again, if you're a supporter and you enjoy the show, check out patreon.com/thefitcast and jump on there. For $1 per episode, $4 per month, you're going to get access to all these extra interviews, or they're really not interviews. They're more like conversations. And we cover, there's just so much that's been covered, from not just nutrition and fitness, travel stuff, tips, things that, these people that have just done great things, advice that they can share with other people. All of it has been fantastic, and it's a real shame that only like 200 people are listening to these every single week. Really close to that goal of putting them out every week, and I really think that if you check them out, you're really gonna think it's worth the extra $4 per month to get these going. Again, I'm biased. I don't feel like I'm asking for a lot. Sometimes, it's a big barrier for people to go from getting a show for free every single week to saying, all right, I'm going to give you $1 or whatever per episode. And I understand that. But at the same time, let's make sure that this show keeps going. Keep supporting it. Support the things that you like. Support the content that you want to make sure it keeps getting produced. And, hopefully you enjoy what I'm doing with it. And wow. Holy crap. All right. So in 2 days from now that I'm recording this, it will be the 9th year of the FitCast. I've been doing this for going on 9 years. So there's a track record. There's hopefully a quality behind it. There's a certain style with it, a certain a difference that you're not going to find in other fitness podcasts. And, again, I've been doing it for a long time. So hopefully you appreciate that a lot. There's not, there's no ads in the podcast. And if I ever did get ads like down the road, they wouldn't take up the show. The show is the guest. That's the show. The show is the content. It's not going to be taken over by advertising because I hate that crap when I listen to podcasts. Like having advertising every 10 minutes bugs me. I'm hitting that fast forward button all the time, and I don't want you guys to have to do that. Again, hopefully you're saying it's worth $4. You get the episodes, you get the bonus agenda free stuff, and I get to keep doing this every single week. And instead of 9 years, we get to go 10 years and 11 years and 12 years. So appreciate the people out there that are giving me the support, and I appreciate your time for checking this out. And I hope, this gives you the extra push to go to patreon.com/thefitcast, jump on there. Takes 2 minutes to sign up and to get it going so you can get access to all this great stuff. Thanks as always, and see you next week.